2,000 years of conquest, fire, plague, and empire, all carved into one city's streets and stones. This is where a small Roman settlement began a journey toward becoming a global powerhouse. Long before the neon skyline and global financial towers, London started its life as Londinium, a small Roman settlement on the northern bank of the River Thames, established around 43 to 50 AD. Its position at a narrow crossing made it a natural hub for trade and transit, and soon it grew into a thriving port and provincial centre under Roman rule. Even after the destruction during Boudica's uprising in 60 AD, the city was rebuilt, rising stronger with temples, a forum, an amphitheatre. In the 2nd and 3rd centuries, Londinium reached its peak with as many as 60,000 residents and was eventually enclosed by a formidable stone wall built by the Romans around AD 200. Over the centuries, waves of conquest, decline, and rebirth would reshape the city, but the spirit of that riverbank outpost endures in modern London's streets, walls, and skyline. But how did Londinium grow into the London we know today? Diverse, vast, and endlessly evolving. This is the history of London. The story of London begins with the Roman invasion of Britain under Emperor Claudius in AD 43. Shortly thereafter, around AD 47 to 50, they established a settlement on the north bank of the River Thames. That settlement was Londinium, built to secure a bridgehead and serve as a base for commerce and military operations. Londinium was not built atop a major native town. Rather, it rose from marshy countryside and intersecting streams, transformed by Roman planning into a bustling new urban centre. Thanks to its exceptional position on the Thames at a narrow point ideal for a bridge, Londinium rapidly evolved into a key port and nexus of trade. Ships from across the empire docked at its quays, carrying goods such as pottery, wine, olive oil, and luxury items. At the same time, Roman roads radiated from the settlement, linking Britain's interior to this vital river gateway. This commerce drew merchants, craftsmen, and settlers of diverse origins. As its port and road network flourished, Londinium grew from a military-driven outpost into a thriving provincial capital of Roman Britain. However, the city's early prosperity made it a target. In AD 60, Boudica, queen of the Iceni tribe, rebelled against Roman rule and chose Londinium as a principal target. Her forces razed the settlement to the ground, leaving behind a thick layer of ash and destruction. That single act left Londinium practically destroyed. Homes, markets, warehouses, and even early port facilities were lost in the flames. But the Romans did not abandon Londinium. Within years, the city was rebuilt, this time with a more deliberate, planned layout. A civilian grid of streets emerged, complete with public buildings, a forum, basilica, temples, bathhouses, and an amphitheatre. Archaeological studies show the forum dating from as early as the 70s to 80s AD, featuring a large hall and shops, the commercial heart of the city. On the riverbank, the port was rebuilt more robustly. Timber quays replaced earlier landings, enabling heavier traffic and cargo. Exports included metals, grain, wool, and local British produce. Thus, Londinium rebounded, rising stronger than before both in size and importance, becoming the administrative and commercial centre of Roman Britain. Around AD 200, Rome undertook a massive infrastructure project, the construction of the London Wall, a formidable defensive ragstone barrier enclosing the landward side of Londinium. The wall stretched roughly 2.5 miles, soared about 6 meters high, and measured up to 2 to 2.6 meters thick at its base. This wall wasn't built hurriedly in response to an imminent threat. Rather, it reflected Londinium's status and long-term importance in Roman Britain. Construction required tens of thousands of tons of Kentish ragstone transported from Kent via Thames barges. Over time, the wall defined the city's perimeter, a boundary that would persist for many centuries. Some segments of this ancient wall remain visible today, offering tangible links to London's deep past. After the Roman withdrawal in 410 AD, Londinium faced a steep decline. Trade slowed, infrastructure collapsed, and the once flourishing Roman town was largely abandoned. Yet, centuries later, a new life began to emerge. By the 9th and 10th centuries, Anglo-Saxons resettled the area slightly west of the Roman ruins, forming Londonwick, a growing port focused on river trade and craftsmanship. When Viking raids threatened coastal settlements, citizens were moved back inside the old Roman walls, reviving the city's defensive core and laying the foundation for medieval London. Transitioning into 1066, London's status changed dramatically when William the Conqueror seized control after his victory at the Battle of Hastings. To secure his rule, he commissioned the Tower of London, which stands as both a fortress and a political symbol. Under Norman authority, the city witnessed an increase in population, taxation systems, written administration, and massive stone architecture. London's role as a seat of governance expanded further with the growth of Westminster Abbey and the royal court, anchoring the monarchy and influencing Christian authority and legal tradition. With stability came economic resurgence. From the 12th to 14th centuries, London developed into a thriving commercial hub as guilds, markets, and wharfside trading houses flourished along the Thames. Craftsmen, goldsmiths, and merchants formed powerful associations that regulated production, pricing, and apprenticeships, shaping the social structure. The city's river traffic brought goods from across Europe, making London a trade capital of medieval England and a magnet for migration and wealth. However, prosperity faltered when the Black Death struck in 1348, wiping out nearly half the population. Streets emptied, labor became scarce, and the economy fractured. Yet London rebuilt again, adapting through wage laws, improved sanitation, and labor reforms that strengthened surviving workers' economic influence. Despite immense loss, the crisis reshaped society and pushed the city into new administrative and commercial growth, ultimately preparing it for the Tudor age that followed. In 1666, the Great Fire of London began in Pudding Lane and swept through large parts of the city, destroying around 13,000 houses, 87 parish churches, and hundreds of business premises. In the fire's aftermath, authorities enforced rebuilding rules that replaced timber with brick and stone, directly altering the city's streetscape and lowering future fire risk. At the center of this rebuilding effort stood the newly rebuilt St. Paul's Cathedral, redesigned by Christopher Wren, whose iconic dome would come to symbolize a resilient London. As the 18th century gave way to the 19th, London rode the wave of the Industrial Revolution, transforming from a rebuilt post-fire city into the heart of a growing global empire. Factories, trade, and imperial commerce brought wealth and population growth, making London one of the largest cities on Earth at the time. To support this expansion, infrastructure evolved rapidly. In 1863, the London Underground, the world's first underground railway, opened, fundamentally changing urban mobility and commuting. Meanwhile, the infamous sanitary crisis known as the Great Stink of 1858 spurred the construction of a modern sewer system designed by civil engineer Joseph Bazalgette, greatly improving public health and helping London cope with its growing population. With industrialization and infrastructure in place, London's economy diversified. Banking, trade, manufacturing, and services flourished. A burgeoning middle class of merchants, professionals, and skilled workers emerged, even as poverty and overcrowded slums remained widespread among the working poor. At the same time, cultural life burgeoned. Museums opened their doors, theatres thrived, public parks were laid out, educational institutions expanded, and newspapers, literature, and reform movements gained momentum. This cultural flowering gave Victorian London not just economic power, but a dynamic public life and social identity. From the ashes of fire to the roar of steam engines, from stone-built streets to subterranean railways, Georgian and Victorian London reinvented itself, emerging as a blueprint of a modern metropolis shaped by empire, industry, and human ambition. The 20th century opened with conflict as London sent thousands of men to World War I, facing food shortages, air raid threats, and immense human loss. But the Second World War changed the capital forever. Beginning in 1940, German bombing campaigns known as the Blitz struck homes, docks, and industries, killing around 30,000 civilians and leaving entire districts in ruins. Families slept in underground stations as bomb shelters, emerging each morning to rebuild their streets piece by piece. Yet, despite destruction, London stood firm, a story of courage that shaped its identity for generations. Moving forward from war was not simple, and this led to the next shift in the city's character. After 1945, London entered a new phase of post-war recovery. Reconstruction programs introduced large housing estates, welfare reforms formed the modern NHS under the 1948 Act, and suburban growth pushed London beyond its historical core. As industries declined in the late 20th century, the city sought reinvention, and immigration from Commonwealth nations, the Caribbean, South Asian, and African communities, and more reshaped society, building the multicultural London known today. This wave of new cultures transformed food, music, language, festivals, and identity, making London one of the world's most diverse cities. From here, modernization gained speed, pushing London into a new global role. Late-century development moved eastward to the Docklands, replacing derelict ports with skyscrapers, Canary Wharf, and financial hubs, eventually boosting London's role in global markets. The London Stock Exchange, international banking firms, and rapid tech growth strengthened the economy, attracting workers and investors worldwide. Tourism also surged, supported by new icons: the London Eye, 2000, the Shard, Tate Modern, and the 2012 Olympic Park, which regenerated Stratford and remains a legacy of sport, housing, and culture. Now in the digital age, London leads in fintech, AI research, smart city projects, and sustainability, connected globally through finance, media, universities, and multicultural creativity. London has transformed across 2 millennia, growing from a Roman settlement into a global metropolis filled with culture, history, and diversity. Each era brought challenges and triumphs, shaping the city's streets, monuments, and people. The resilience and ambition of Londoners have left a mark that continues to define the city today. Every corner of the capital tells a story of survival, innovation, and the blending of countless cultures. CTA, And this was the history of London. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And let's keep exploring your favorite historical events and the hidden stories behind them. Thank you for watching. See you in the following video.